Thank you.
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So in continuing discussing the book Blughul Al-Maram by Hafid ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah, we started discussing the hadith of Uthman bin Affan radiyallahu anhu, where this hadith he discussed concerning ahkam wa sifat al-wudu. So we started regarding that hadith, where we discussed so far regarding that hadith matters pertaining to the rawi of the hadith, Uthman ibn Affan and also Umran. We spoke about both in the previous session, and also we discussed concerning takhrij of hadith, that this hadith, the author mentioned a hadith in the Bukhari and Muslim. We mentioned regarding other sources other than Bukhari and Muslim that have collected this hadith. Then we discussed concerning matters pertaining to some other matters pertaining to the hadith, regarding certain matters relating to the shurut, that the one who wishes to perform al-wudu, what are those things that a person, or those things that should be in place. So today, inshallah ta'ala, in this session, we'll be continuing to discuss some of the ahkam that pertains to this hadith, that relates to the ahkam of wudu, and also the description of wudu. So we'll again repeat the hadith, and then we'll start to discuss the ahkam that can be taken from this hadith. Tafaddal.
Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu rasulillah. Hadith number 30, narrated Humran, the manumitted slave of Uthman radiallahu anhu. Uthman radiallahu anhu called for water to perform ablution. He washed the palms of his hands 3 times, then rinsed his mouth and sniffed water in his nose, then blew it out. He then washed his face 3 times. Thereafter, he washed his right hand up to and including his elbow 3 times, then the left one in the same manner. Then he wiped his head with wet hands. Then he washed his right foot up to and including the ankle 3 times, then the left one in the same manner. He then said, I saw Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam perform an ablution like this ablution of mine, agreed upon.
So that's the hadith that had been mentioned regarding the hadith of Uthman bin Affan, and this is the hadith that discuss some detail regarding how to perform al-wudu. So in picking up from where we have left off regarding ahkam al-wudu, based upon the hadith that had been mentioned, the hadith of Uthman ibn Affan radiyallahu anhu, that the first of those things to mention regarding this hadith, that first is concerning hukum al-wudu. So the hukum al-wudu. The ulama have discussed concerning hukum al-wudu may varies depending on the situation. So at times wudu may be wajib, at times performing wudu may be mustahab, mandub, at times it is mubah. So the ahkam of wudu, it may varies depending on the purpose and the objective of performing al-wudu. So regarding concern this matter, the ulama mentioned regarding concern that al-wudu, regarding concern that meaning concerning al-wudu, that at times it is wajib / fard. So wudu, performing wudu, at times the hukum in performing wudu, depending on the act that is being done, that it may be wajib or fard, being a state of wudu. And so regarding concerning use of the word wajib or fard, that jumhur of the ulama, that they alternate between the word wajib and fard, where they all that both mean the same thing, which is something is compulsory, a must to be done. So wajib wal fard, with jumhur of the ulama, they have the position that these two words, that they alternate between these words, because based upon the word, these two words, they take the same meaning according to jumhur of the ulama. As for the ulama of the ahnaf, that they distinguish between fard wal wajib. But as for now, we'll be using the word fard wal wajib, meaning the same thing. So those words, these two words, that they carry the same meaning regarding something compulsory to be done. So as for al-wudu, at times may be fard, wajib, to be carried out. And that's the mention concern, that's the case concerning that, for example, the person who wish to carry out, for example, the act of salat. So the act of salat, or whether the salat that is being done is wajib or naflan, the person is required to be in a state of tahara, and of this, that a person in a state of wudu. So wudu is wajib fard if the person wish to perform salat. So as mentioned by Rasulullah, mentioned إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم. So it stipulates as a condition in performing salat, that salat, whether that salat is compulsory salat or a nafila salat or a non-compulsory salat, the person is required to be in a state of wudu. And this salat that requires wudu is a salat that starts with takbir, Allahu Akbar, and ends with taslim. So that could be in the case of so any salat, even would be included salat al-Eid, also be included in this as Salat al-Janaza. Salat al-Janaza also be included in this salat. So overall concerning, the Prophet mentioned, لا يقبل الله الصلاة أحدكم إذا أحدث حتى يتوضأ. So proving that salat requires tahara. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned hadith of that he mentioned hadith where he states in the hadith in the Bukhari and Muslim, لا يقبل الله salat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not accept the salat. أحدكم, any of you, إذا أحدث, if you have broken your wudu, حتى, until you perform wudu. So it shows regarding that of the condition of wudu, the person must be in a state of the condition of salat, the person must be in a state of wudu. So it shows regarding also ijma' between the ulama. So also in the ijma' that also the person, as mentioned by Ibn Mundhir, أجمع أهل العلم على أن الصلاة لا تجزي إلا بالطهارة إذا وجد المرء إليها سبيلا. So he mentioned that overall that he states that the ulama are in agreement that the person salat is not valid except in a state of tahara if the person is able to do so, if the person he has the ability to do so and the means to do so. So it shows regarding that tahara, meaning wudu, it's a must regarding a person wanting to pray. So that's in one scenario or one case where it is wajib. Another case regarding concerning wudu may be deemed to be mandub, preferred to be done, not per se wajib, that they mention regarding concern that in those cases regarding the person who wish to make a dhikr. So the person concerning matters concerning a dhikr, the person. So in that case, in that scenario, that the Prophet that it is mandub, is preferred for the person to be in a state of tahara. And you have many cases concerning this with the Prophet ﷺ, that as he mentioned in hadith, فقال إني كرهت أن أذكر الله عز وجل إلا على طهر. That the Prophet ﷺ mentioned this hadith, that this hadith in Ashabu Sunan or in Sunan Ibn Majah, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned hadith that he state that when a person gave him salam and the Prophet ﷺ did not respond, then he clarified to the person regarding inni karihtu, that I dislike to perform or I dislike to make azkar except in a state of tahara. So it shows regarding in that performing azkar is not that the Prophet ﷺ he preferred and dislike to be in a state of najas or not in a state of tahara. So it shows that this is something which is preferred to be done, that when the person mention Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or mentioning concerning of dhikr, that in a state of tahara. So also be included concerning durus al-ilm, where the person will be mentioning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is advisable for the person to be in a state of tahara. It is not wajib, but it is preferred to be done. So also they mention regarding al-mashru', that also in time which is mubah, it is something which is also that it is permissible, allowed for the person to be in a state of tahara. It is not wajib, but it is something which is mubah, mashru', permissible for the person to be in a state of tahara of those cases regarding before a naum. So before the person go to sleep, for the one to perform tahara, it is something which is allowed. It is something which is allowed to be done. So it mentioned regarding to the Prophet ﷺ that he mentioned a hadith concerning إذا أتيتم المضجع, that if any of you come to your ma'ja, that you come to your place of rest, فتوضأ وضوءك كالصلاة, للصلاة, then you should perform wudu as that of wudu of salat. So the person who he mentioned, the person who's wanting to go to sleep and preparing himself to go to sleep, of those things that are allowed, permissible, is for the person to be in a state of tahara before going to sleep, or to sleep before going to sleep. So it shows that this is something which is mashru', something which is permissible, allowed to be done. Also they mention, so that's cases that they mention. So also they mention that at times wudu may be something which is disliked to be done, and also a case where wudu it is something haram to be done. So they mention regarding concerning a case with haram to be done, regarding the ulama, they discuss concerning the case of it being haram, regarding concerning that the person that stealing of water. So the person who may have stolen water to be used for tahara, then it's something with that type of tahara, it's something which is haram because of the person stealing or taking off water that is not his without permission. So the wudu, it is still valid, but the method and this wudu, it is considered to be haram because of the person stealing of water to perform al-wudu. So overall, that this is something that so wudu, it kind of somewhat, it falls into different categories depending on the circumstances. Fall into different category based upon the circumstance. So that's concerning matters pertaining to al-wudu. So also of those things that ulama have mentioned regarding al-wudu, from a more historical point of view regarding al-wudu, that a discussion between the ulama as to at what point was wudu considered to be wajib. At what point wudu was legislated in Islam, would have been something which is wajib. So regarding concerning matter, shara al-wudu, matter, at what point was wudu legislated to be done. So of the ulama, say khilaf between ulama as on this topic. So on this topic regarding at what point was wudu made, was legislated, a khilaf between the ulama. So of the ulama that they mentioned, that of the ulama who say that wudu that was made wajib upon the time that salat was made compulsory. So of the ulama who mentioned, so you have that view. So they mentioned it was in Medina. So wudu was made, was legislated while they were in Medina. Based upon, I mentioned ayah, we mentioned إِذَا قُمْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ, that I mentioned this ayah in Medina. So also wudu was also legislated then, along with this ayah in Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 6. Then it mentioned that on this, you also have other ulama who mentioned that also that wudu was legislated while they were in Mecca. While they were in Mecca, so before Al-Hijrah, while they were in Mecca, that of the ulama who mentioned that it was legislated then. As they mentioned that Ayat al-Ma'idah, khilaf between all that they mentioned was Ayat al-Ma'idah, that so they mentioned that, so that's concerning a view taken by some. So of those who mentioned that this ayah or that wudu that was legislated while they were in Mecca, and it was made compulsory then while in Mecca, as the ayah was revealed then in Mecca. And they mentioned that, and this is the view that is taken by one of the ulama of the Hanafiya, who's Ibn Abidin. So Ibn Abidin, that I've taken of the ulama of the Hanafiya, that he's more inclined towards the view that wudu, that it was legislated and made compulsory while they were in Mecca. Another view all concerned that it was made compulsory while they were in Medina, when they arrived in Medina. And they clarified, and this view all that wudu before then, while they were in Mecca, it was something which was sunnah, it was something preferred to be done, but not compulsory. But wudu became compulsory to be done along with salat when they arrived in Medina. So while they were in Mecca, it was legislated, but not compulsory. When they arrived in Medina, it became compulsory that wudu has to be performed with salat. But before, it was not the case. So that's concerning of those views that are there between the ulama that regarding this matter. So difference between the ulama on that topic. But so that's concerning at what point was wudu made compulsory. Those who hold that it was made compulsory in Mecca along with salat. Those who hold that it was made compulsory while in Medina. What was done before, it was something which is sunnah, but not by way of being something which was compulsory to be carried out. So overall, after a brief discussion regarding concerning matters pertaining to al-wudu as to when it was made legislated. So as for the masail, so next discussing concerning masail that can be taken from the hadith of Uthman bin Affan radiyallahu anhu. This hadith of Uthman is one of those hadith that are very essential regarding a description of al-wudu. So it does mention the hadith of Uthman of the acts of wudu, those that are considered to be wajib, compulsory. And also, it clarifies also some of the acts of wudu that are said to be sunnah, mandub, acts that are preferred to be done. And also, there are certain acts that relate to wudu that are not mentioned. So there are certain acts of wudu that are not mentioned or captured in the hadith of Uthman ibn Affan. And those acts would be discussed in further hadith that are other hadith that will be mentioned later. So as for what is mentioned in this hadith, as we mentioned this hadith of Uthman bin Affan, it clarifies concerning the description of the Prophet Islam wudu. So as for the ahkam that can be taken, one, this hadith it shows regarding the hukum regarding ghusl kafain qabla al-wudu. So regarding concerning the person washing of the palm of his hands before al-wudu or at the start of wudu. So regarding concerning this matter, regarding concerning the washing of the palm of the hand from the fingertips up to the wrist, then the palm, then this is said to be of the, as they mentioned concerning mustahab. So it is yastahab ghusluhuma, it is preferred for the palm of the hand to be washed at the start of wudu بالإجماع العلماء في هذه مسألة. So there's an agreement between the ulama that it is mustahab to wash the palm of the hand at the start of wudu. And Ibn Munzir stated this ijma in his book Al-Awsat. And also An-Nawawi rahimahullah. So of those ulama, Ibn Munzir in his book Al-Awsat, and also An-Nawawi in his Sharh of Sahih Muslim, that I mentioned it is mustahab for a person to wash the palm of his hand, meaning from the fingertips up to the wrist of his hand. That is something which is mustahab. It is not wajib as a part of the act of wudu. The second of those masala to be discussed concerning al-madmada. So al-madmada wa istinshaq. So the second of those masail that relates to the hadith where Uthman he mentioned regarding وَغَفَلَ كَفَّيْهِ ثَلَاثَ مَرَّات. So as for, and we'll discuss concerning so washing of the palm, it is mustahab. The second thing that he mentioned, ثُمَّ تَمَضْمَضْ وَإِسْتَنْشَقْ وَاسْتَنْثَرْ. So he mentioned those three which is related to the nose and the mouth, regarding the person nose and mouth. So regarding concerning that al-madmada and istinshaq, where madmada, where the person take water into his mouth. So they mentioned concerning al-madmada, they mentioned as a description, that is أن يجعل الماء في فمه, where al-madmada, where the person take water into his fam, into his mouth, ثم يديره فيه, and also he moves it around, so it is moved around in his mouth. ثم يمجه, and then also it is spit out. So that's concerning that the act of madmada. So madmada, the person taking water into his mouth, also it is moved around, and also it is spit out. So that's concerning. So they mentioned aqal of what is accepted regarding madmada between the ulama, and yaj'al al-ma fi fami, that a person does put some water in his mouth. So that's the least. So the least is the person placing water into his mouth. As for the person moving water into his mouth, gargling the water in his mouth, the ulama discuss concerning is it conditional, is something which is a must to be done or not. There's a khilaf between the ulama, jumhur of the ulama, all concerning that la yashtarit idara. So the jumhur of the ulama or tahriq, all concerning that the person does not have to move the water around in his mouth. That's called jumhur of the ulama. But you find that some of the ulama, they mentioned that the jama'ah of the Shafi'iyah, some of the ulama of the Shafi'iyah, they are all concerning yashtarit. They all that it is compulsory. It's a condition that a person has to move water within his, inside of his mouth as a part of his madmada. Then as for istinshaq, they mentioned isal al-ma ila dakhil al-anf. So al-istinshaq is now the person sniffing or placing water into his nose. So istinshaq is related to the nose, where water is placed into the sniff into the nose, or placed into the nose, and then also it is blown out. It is sniffed out. So that's concerning the act of istinshaq. So taking it into the mouth, into the nose, is called. It is some at times the word istinshaq carries both sniffing water in and also blowing it out the nose. Or I mentioned istinshaq and also istinthar. So sometimes both those words are used for the same thing, which is relating to sniffing water in and blowing it out. The word istinshaq and also istinthar, that they are used. So that's concerning that the act regarding al-madmada wa istinshaq, that relates to washing or placing water in the nose and into the mouth. As for the hukum regarding al-madmada wa istinshaq, and now rahimahullah, that he mentioned regarding this particular matter, that ulama, they have 4 madha'ib. So you have 4 aqwal of the ulama regarding the hukum pertaining to al-madmada wa istinshaq. What's the ruling regarding placing water into the nose and the mouth? The ulama, they differ on this matter, and they divided into four views. The first of those views, مذهب الأول, that they take the position that it is أنهما سنتان في الوضوء والغسل, that washing the nose and the mouth, that it is a sunnah in sunnah while performing wudu and ghusl. So in performing ghusl and wudu, both washing the nose and the mouth, it is something which is a sunnah. It is not must to be done, but it is preferred to be done. So that's the first view of the ulama on this matter, and that's the matter of the Shafi'iyah. So the Shafi'iyah, the all concerning al-wudu, that madmada wa istinshaq, it is sunnah, and also ghusl is the same, it is sunnah to be done, it is not wajib. That's the view of the Shafi'iyah. And also it is mentioned that hakahu ibn Mundir and Hasan al-Basri, al-Zuhri, al-Hakam, Qatada, Rabi'a, and mentioned wa Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Ansari, and also al-Malik, Imam Malik, Awzahi, al-Layth ibn Sa'd, and Riwaya and Ata wa Ahmed. So those of the ulama that have taken the position that madmada wa istinshaq, washing the nose and the mouth, that it is sunnatani, that doing these two acts regarding the wudu and the ghusl, it is a sunnah. It is not compulsory, preferred to be done, but it is not compulsory. And of those who have taken that view, again, of the ulama of madhab, of those who are more renowned, the method of the Shafi'iyah, it is stated the view of Hasan al-Basri, Imam al-Zuhri, al-Hakam, Qatada, Rabi'a, Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Ansari, Imam Malik, Imam Awza'i, al-Layth ibn Sa'd, and also Riwaya and Ata, and also Imam Ahmed, rahimahullah, jami'an. And they come to that in summary, that they have come to that conclusion based upon they mention that they say it is sunnatani, it is sunnat, this act, these two acts are sunnah. They say based upon that the Prophet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the ayat al-wudu in Surah Al-Ma'idah, there's no mention of the nose and the mouth. It mentioned faghsilu wujuhakum. So it mentioned about washing off your face, and it did not point out regarding the nose and the mouth. So they mentioned that, this is and also that's how they have come to this conclusion. And other texts that they use, but overall they mention it is not so mentioned as ayat al-wudu. It is not mentioned, and other texts that they have mentioned. So that's concerning overall regarding the first view, and they have other adillah that they have mentioned. The second view of on this matter that they mention, مذهب الثاني أنهما واجبتان في الوضوء والغسل. That the second view is of the position that performing madmada wa istinshaq, that they are wajibatan, they are a must to be done in performing wudu and ghusl. So while performing or in performing ghusl and wudu, it's a must that the person must wash his nose and mouth. And for their wudu to be valid and their ghusl, these two, the nose and the mouth, must be washed. That's the second view. So the second view, all that it is wajib, that these two acts are performed, are carried out while performing wudu and also al-ghusl. And of the ulama who have taken this position, we have Ibn Abi Layla, Hamad, Ishaq, Wal-Mashur, and Ahmed. And the more renowned view is that of the position of Ahmed. So the more famous view is that of Ahmed. And they have come to that conclusion of their evidence that they mentioned. They mentioned فَغْسِلُوا وَجُوهَكُمْ. So in the ayah in Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 6, they mention فَغْسِلُوا وَجُوهَكُمْ. So they mentioned that as a part of the face is washing, included in the face is the nose and the mouth. And they mentioned that also you find that many of the narrations of the Prophet ﷺ regarding performing wudu, that it is not mentioned except he perform madmada wa istinshaq. So most of the hadith, over 20 something Sahaba have narrated hadith about the Prophet ﷺ performing wudu, and none of them ever none of them did not mention that or missed him, the Prophet ﷺ, that he did not perform madmada wa istinshaq. So based upon I mentioned that he ﷺ that the ayah فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ, that Islam have clarified by way of his action that the nose and the mouth are included. So according to that view, the nose and the mouth are included, as the Prophet ﷺ never once performed wudu except he washed his nose and mouth. So that's concerning the second view on this matter. The third view, that and they mentioned the nose and the mouth is a part of the face. They mentioned the nose and the mouth is a part of the face. The third position taken by the ulama, that I mentioned wajibatan fil ghusl duna wudu. That the third position taken by the ulama, that they make a distinction where they state that it is compulsory that a person must perform in his ghusl washing the nose and the mouth. It is a must that in ghusl the person must wash his nose and mouth. As for wudu, that's not the case. So they make a distinction regarding, in the case of ghusl, it's a must to wash the nose and the mouth. As for wudu, it is not the case. It is not compulsory. More so, it is mustahab to be done in wudu, and it is wajib to be done in ghusl. And that's the view that is taken by Imam Abu Hanifa and his ashab, his companions, Abu Yusuf and others. And also, it is the view of Sufyan al-Thawri. So it's the view of Abu Hanifa and Ahnaf, and also is the view of Sufyan al-Thawri, alayhim rahmatullah jami'an, where they make a distinction between al-ghusl and wudu. So in ghusl, yes, the person must wash his nose and mouth. As for in wudu, it's not a must to be done. That's the third position. The fourth position on this matter, they mention al-istinshaq, washing of the nose. It is wajib in wudu. Wal ghusl dunu madmada. So if they make it, so in the fourth view, they make it that as for istinshaq, the person washing or rinsing of his nose, it is a must to be done in wudu and ghusl, without madmada, washing of the mouth, being compulsory. So they make a distinction between both two acts. That the nose is a must to be done while performing wudu and ghusl. As for the mouth, is not compulsory. Madmada is not compulsory to be done whether in ghusl or in wudu. That's concerning the fourth position of the ulama on this matter. And that view, it is taken by the likes of Abi Thawr, also Abi Ubaid, Dawood al-Zahiri, and also a riwayah and Imam Ahmed, and also Ibn Mundhir rahimahullah is for this view. Ibn Mundhir mentioned, قال Ibn Mundhir وبه أقول. Ibn Mundhir rahimahullah, that is aligned to this fourth view, where they make a distinction between the nose and the mouth. So the nose must be done in wudu and ghusl. As for the mouth, it is preferred to be done but not compulsory. And they make a distinction regarding this. They mention that they made that many hadith, or some of the hadith, that it makes a distinction between both. So they mentioned that in a hadith in the Sahihain, Bukhari, Muslim, the hadith of Abu Hurairah anhu, the Prophet mentioned concerning إِذَا تَوَضَّ أَحْدُكُمْ, if any of you perform al-wudu, فَيَجْعَلْ فِي أَنْفِهِ مَا, that they mentioned فَلْيَجْعَلْ, you should place in your nose water, ثُمَّ يَسْتَنْثَرْ, then he should sniff it in and sniff it out and blow it out. So they mentioned that the hadith, it mentioned about the nose without mention about the mouth. So they mentioned that hadith make a distinction between the nose and the mouth. So based upon hadith of that nature, they make a distinction between the nose and the mouth, where the nose is compulsory to be rinsed. As for the mouth, it is not the case. So that's concerning the view of the ulama on this matter. And of the ulama, so you find that those are the aqwal of the ulama on this matter, of the ulama who are contemporaries, the author, of those who are more inclined towards the fourth view, of those who incline either towards the view that mentioned that. So you have different views that are taken by different ulama on this matter. Allahu alam, that the view regarding washing the nose is compulsory. So the views that are more in line, the more strong of the views, that will be either the view regarding the view that all concerned that washing both are compulsory, or washing only the nose is compulsory. In in relation to wudu and ghusl. So washing the nose, the fourth view, as being a very strong view, and also being another strong view would be the second view. So the second view and the fourth view are the more, seem to be the more stronger of the views. So that's concerning in general regarding that matter. So also there's something to be mindful of. At times we may not per se mention the qawl al-raji indana, or what we see. So it's not at times where we need to mention the view that we are inclined towards, as we just mentioned aqwal of the ulama, and so what we are aware, with awareness of the views of the ulama on the matter. So as for mentioning the view that I, the person doing a lesson, may be more inclined, it's not necessary that the person, or after mentioning the view that I believe to be, I see it as being necessary that after mentioning the view that I think is more, that I see as the view that I follow. So the main thing to get an idea of the view of the ulama, as for what the view of the of ourselves may be, that may not be necessary. The next of those matters that are discussed regarding concern mention hukum al-istinthar. So mention the hukum al-istinthar. So as mentioned that An-Nawawi rahimahullah, that a discussion was that Naqla An-Nawawi rahimahullah in his book Al-Majmu'. So An-Nawawi rahimahullah have many books. Of the books that is dedicated mainly to fiqh is a book that is called Al-Majmu', Shar al-Muhadzab. That a very detailed book on matters relating to fiqh. It was not completed. It reached up to a certain point. Then he died or passed away rahimahullah. So the book was incomplete. Then others who came and tried to complete the book. But as for An-Nawawi rahimahullah, he started working on this book Al-Majmu', Shar al-Muhadzab. That he mentioned in this book, and also Ibn Malaki rahimahullah, that of the ulama have stated regarding concern that ijma' ala adam al-wujub istinthar. So of the ulama that I mentioned that it is agreement between the ulama that it is not compulsory for the person that he has to istinthar, sniff, or to blow water from his nose. They mentioned regarding concern this matter of the ulama who have somewhat corrected and now on this matter or disagree regarding this ijma that have been stated. Of them Hafid Ibn Hajar rahimahullah in his book Fath al-Bari, and others Ibn Battal, who have stated regarding that this matter, a group of the ulama who did and of the view that is something which is compulsory. So Nawawi and others, Ibn Malakin, have stated that the ulama are in agreement that water being blown out from the nose, it is not something which is compulsory, but instead we find that there's ulama who have said otherwise and did take the view that it's something which is compulsory. So that view regarding it being an ijma is not per se a valid ijma based upon from the ulama who hold the view that istinthar, it is something which is wajib, which is istinthar, the person blowing the water from his nose. And that's a view that is taken Qawl Ahmed for Riwayah, Dawood, Al-Zahiri, Ibn Hazm, that all that it is something which is wajib to be done, it is fard, the person blowing the water out from his nose. And Allahu Alam, that view is strong. That view is strong. That is something which is wajib to be done. The next masala, so that's concerning relating to the face, also going now to the face. So the next regarding ghusl al-wajh, regarding washing of the face. So on that matter, that naqla ijma, many of the ulama have stated that there's an ijma, have stated that there's an ijma on this matter regarding it's a must that a person washing the entire face area. As mentioned in the ayah, إِذَا قُمْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ فَاغْسِلُوا وَجُوهَكُمْ. So it mentioned فَاغْسِلُوا وَجُوهَكُمْ, that you must wash your face. So of those who have mentioned ijma, we have the life of Imam An-Nawawi, Ibn Qudama in his book Al-Mughni, Ibn Hazm in his book Al-Muhalla, Ibn Abdul Barr in his book At-Tamhid wa Istizkar. So of those ulama who have said that the ijma, that a person must wash his entire face area. As for what is deemed to be the face area to be washed, then in the ulama mentioned that from one ear to the next, so from the right to the left, also from the tip of the forehead to the chin. So that be the person after wash, that entire surface area, that is the surface area of the face, is to be washed. Of the person, I mentioned, so that's concerning the face area. They mentioned a person have hair of facial hair, then so if there's facial hair regarding the person, that the person needs to ensure the water gets on the hair. So I mentioned that also as mentioned by Ibn Qudama, هذه شعور, if the person of hair is airy, كلها إن كانت كثيفة لا تصل البشرة. That's I mentioned that Ibn Qudama rahimahullah make a distinction regarding that. If the person are very thick hair, then a person then it has to be washed, that area. But if it is thin, then a person ensure the water does reaches the skin. So that if they have thick hair, facial hair, then a person try to wash in between. But if the person are very small, scattered, then the person ensure that the face, the skin area, water penetrate and touches that area. And that's the view that is taken by Ibn al-Rajab al-Hanbali. The next matter concerning this matter is regarding the person of long flowing hair or beard. They mention on this matter that if the lihya is long, the person of facially, which is the lihya, is of long growing lihya, what to be done in that case? They mention of the ulama of two approaches on this matter. أنه يجب غسل ما يسترسل من اللحية. So whatever is the long extension of the beard, that of the ulama mentioned, that also is to be washed. يجب غسل ما يسترسل من اللحية. So whatever is the extension or the long flowing hair of the ulama who hold that also is to be washed as the part of the face. And that's a view that is taken by a view of Ahmed and also Imam al-Shafi. The second view all concerned that Adam al-Wujub, that a person is not Adam al-Wujub al-Ghusl. So that means that it is not necessary for the person to wash the extension, the long grown beard, that it is not a must. And that is the view that is taken by Abu Hanifa. Shafi, in another of his view, also another view of Imam Ahmed, that it is not a must. The person have to wash what extend from the beard is not a must, that the person have to wash off this. And that view regarding the second view, that it is not a must to wash the extend what extend from the long beard. That is the view of Ibn Rajab, also that's the view that is taken by Ibn Rajab and mentioned in the book Al-Qawaid. And next matter that is discussed from this hadith regarding concerning that, so that's concerning the face. They discuss regarding the face, ghusl aynayn. So that the person need to ensure that water as is a part of the face, and we mentioned about the nose and the mouth, that water being placed internal, that the person also need to wash inside his eyes. They mentioned regarding concerning this matter, that the ulama mentioned regarding that it is فَلَا يَجِبْ غُسْل دَاخِلْ الْعَيْنَيْن بِاتِّفَاقٍ, that a person does not need to wash inside his eyes, then, and that's an iftifaq between the ulama. So that's concerned the person. I mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ there's never been mentioned in one narration that the Prophet ﷺ ever washed inside his eyes. This was not per se ever done or known that the Prophet ﷺ ever did this. So it's not something which is not to be done. As I mentioned, that fihi darar, that also could lead to harm and injury to the person. So based upon this, that the Prophet ﷺ never did this, so we should not do so. It was something to be done. He would have clarified this and given us instruction regarding this matter. So that is not to be done. The next of those that's concerning the face. The next of those matter regarding to be the next matter regarding ghusl al-yadayn. So the hukum ghusl yadayn. So washing of both, and it is wajib. So washing of both of the arm, it is wajib, and that will be from the fingertip up until the elbow. The fingertip up until the elbow. That all mentioned that is wajib to be done. It is wajib to be done. As mentioned, and now rahimullah, that he mentioned that ajma ala wujub ghusl yadayn ila mirfaqayn, that the person is compulsory, the person have to wash his hands, his arm up until the elbow. As mentioned by subhanahu wa ta'ala, wa aydiyakum ila marafiq. So I mentioned wa aydiyakum ila marafiq. So you should wash your hands up until the elbow. Next, regarding concerning this matter, هل يدخل, the ulama discuss concerning, does the marafiq, does the elbow is to be washed, included in the ear to be washed. So the person washing his arm is one to include the elbow or not. So is it to be included or not to be included? Will a person go right over it and not just stop before it? So as for this matter regarding is the elbow included in the ear to be washed or not, and being wajib, that means ذهب أكثر علماء إلى وجوب إدخال مرفقين في الغسل, that a person must wash including his elbow. The person must wash including his elbow. That's the madhab of Jumhur of the ulama, including the madhab of Ahmed, Imam Malik, Shafi, Ishaq, and also Ashab al-Rahi. So of the ulama who mentioned that this is to be included, and the view of majority of the ulama. The second view, that all concerning that it is عدم الوجوب غسل مرافقين مع اليدين, that it is not compulsory for the person to include his elbow into the ear as a part of the ear to be washed. So the person will stop before it, not including it. And that's the view that is taken of those who take this view. They mention Ashab al-Malik, Ibn Dawood, and also Az-Zufr, or from amongst the ulama who is of this view. Of the ulama who is of this view, Malik, Ibn Dawood, Zufr as narration, and others who may align to that view. And the khilaf between the ulama in this matter, that go back to the word ila marafiq. So I mentioned ila marafiq regarding concerning that the word ila, that it includes or up until that point, or up to that point. So they mentioned that overall it is included, as they are from the, is concerned ila marafiq, it is the same limb that is being discussed, the same thing that is being discussed, so it will include the elbow. So that's concerning that discussion regarding the ulama. So regarding that the elbow, it is to be washed, so the person to pass beyond the elbow, the person to include the elbow as a part of the hand area being washed. Another matter they discuss or mention regarding if a person was to find themselves with an additional finger. So the person was to have an additional finger or fingers. Are they also to be included? So because the hand is to be washed, and if the person has an additional finger, then that additional finger is to be included or not to be included. So if the person has an additional finger, that they mentioned that, as mentioned by Ibn Qudam rahimahullah, قال إذا خلق له إصبع زائد, if the person has an extra finger, أو يد زائدا في محل الفرد وجب غسلها ما أصلية. So they mentioned that overall, they mentioned the person with an extra finger, then it is to be included in the area, it is to be washed also. So to be included and to be washed as something which is compulsory, and to take the same rule as the person with the ordinary hand. You take the ruling of that extra finger, we take the ruling of the ordinary fingers, and be included in the area to be washed. And likewise the feet, as we'll discuss, the feet also would take the same ruling. So our next matter, the person hand, as the person doesn't have a full hand, has been, for example, the person have lost a part of his hand, or the person have lost part of his hand, right? He has lost part of his hand, then whatever that remain, for example, he lost opportunity risk, then whatever remain is to be washed. So whatever remain, it is to be washed. They discuss, so the next matter to be discussed amongst the ulama regarding mas al-ras. So regarding concerning that the person washing of the head. So regarding concerning washing of the head, and also it is something or wiping of the head, mas al-ras. The hukum regarding ajmal ulama ala al-mas al-ras min furud al-wudu. That ulama are in agreement that a person wiping of his head, it is of the compulsory, a compulsory component of the wudu. Of those who are mentioned ijma, we have Ibn Abdul Barr, and Nawawi, Ibn Qudam, and others. So of those of the ulama who have said that it is an ijma, that a person must wipe his head, we have the likes of Ibn Abdul Barr, Nawawi, Ibn Qudama, and others. Then they disagree as to what portion of the head is to be wiped. So the khilaf between the ulama is what portion of the head is to be wiped. That they mentioned that أجمعوا, as mentioned by Ibn Abdul-Barr Rahim in the book Al-Istidhkar, أما المس بالرأس, as for wiping of the head, for أجمعوا. So as for wiping of the head, the ulama are in agreement, أن من مسها برأسه كل فقد أحسن. The person who wipe all of his head, then he has done what is preferred. Then he has done well. So the person to wipe his entire head with all of the ulama, then this is preferred and best, and the best practice and the best thing to be done. وَأَمَا الْأَكْمَلِ, and also a more preferred and complete thing to be done. Then they disagree regarding concerning that, what is the minimum to be done? What is the minimum of the head to be done? What's the minimum to be wiped? So on this, you find a khilaf between the ulama. That of the ulama who mention that that a quarter of the head to be wiped. So they mention that a portion will be what amount to be wiped to fulfill wiping of the head. They mention the person does a quarter, then this is sufficient. Of the ulama who hold that using 3 finger is the amount, ثلاثة أصابع. So the use of the three finger, the portion of the portion of 3 fingers is sufficient. Some mention that's the first portion of the head, the forehead, then this area. So you have different aqwal between of those. Then you find that other of the ulama who all concerning that jami' al-ras. So those who mention that all the head is to be wiped, and of those who mention that a portion is to be wiped, the entire thing, and concerned that they mention concerning the qawl of and Malik and Ahmed wa Muzani, jami' al-ras. The person must wipe the entire head area. So the entire head surface is to be wiped. And Allahu Alam, that seemed to be the more correct view. Regarding the Prophet Islam concerning that when you wipe, you always wipe his entire hair, unless there's wearing an imamah, then he would not do so. But in general, when you wipe the bare head without any cover, you will do the entire head surface. So they show that it is something that the person is to wash the entire head surface, and that's the correct view at the Prophet Islam. Always wipe his entire head surface, unless there was something, a imamah was on it, then he will wipe a portion. So this shows that if the head is bare without any cover, then the entire ear is to be wiped. So that's concerned that matter. And the person wipes the head, that's it. The person doesn't put, the person will damp his hand and wipe his head. The person will damp his hand and then wipe off his head. With this, inshallah ta'ala, because of many things that have been mentioned today, we'll stop with this session and continue to discuss the continuation of this hadith. So we'll end here regarding the head, wiping of the head, and we'll continue with the remaining masahil that relates to the hadith of Uthman bin Affan, that covers many of what relates to the ahkam of wudu and sifatul wudu. But we'll stop here, and this will be the second session regarding this. We'll have a third to complete other of the points or masail that relates to this particular hadith of Uthman ibn Affan radiyallahu anhu. So we'll end regarding wiping of the head with this hadith, and in the next session we'll continue discussing other points that can be taken from this hadith of Uthman ibn Affan regarding ahkam al-wudu. So with that, inshallah ta'ala, will end. Wabillahi ta'ala tawfiq. والآخر دعونا الحمد لله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.